Episode 211. I am so happy about this episode. I got asked a question last week about how to make a marriage work. And I thought, that would be a good podcast episode. So I invited Cathy and Stephen to come on and talk about what makes their marriage work. Obviously, what makes their marriage work would work for some people, but not for everybody. But they do have a really good marriage and a good relationship, and they're very happy. So I thought maybe we could all benefit from this conversation. We talked about everything, I think, to do with a marriage. We talked about parenting and how that affects your marriage, about sex, about values, about I don't know, just everything. It was a really good conversation. So I hope you enjoy this episode 211 with Cathy and Stephen. Thank you so much for all your emails, all your comments. I read them all. I don't respond to them all, but I do read them, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming back every week. And let me know what you think about this episode. Hope you enjoy it. So let me tell you why I thought about having this podcast. There was a comic that came here on Bert's podcast a couple days ago, and he's 7 months married. And he asked me, how do you stay married to comic? And I said, I think that the question you should be asking is, how do you stay married? Mm-hmm. So how do you stay married is a great question. I had an answer. But I was like, I should ask that of people who have been married for a long time and are very happy. And you guys obviously have been married for a long time and are very happy. So how do you stay married?
This marriage sponsored by Johnny Walker.
That's not true. I'll tell you what I said, and then maybe I'll help you. What I said was, I think two things are really important when you're married. One is you should wake up every day wanting your partner to be happy without compromising your own happiness. You can't always do that. Sometimes you compromise your own happiness for the other person. Sometimes the other person compromises their happiness for yours. But if your intention is that every day, then you'll probably do a pretty good job at making that happen. And then number two is you should be able to play Scrabble with them all day, every day, if you wanted to, and not get bored of that person. Mm-hmm. Now, you can replace Scrabble with Monopoly, with Rummy, with whatever your game of choice is. But my point is you should be able to put a puzzle together with that person and still have a good time. Because really, sex changes, money changes, your energy level changes, your focuses change. So many things change. But if you enjoy each other's company in a base way, I think that's a really good indicator that you're probably with the right person. Right. That was the only two things I said to him.
My initial answer was going to be that there has to be some level of fun. Like you have to laugh at some point and about most things, right? Like if you can do that, then you're probably okay. And then the other thing actually goes back to what you started with is about intention, right? Like I've been thinking a lot. So speaking of change, right? I function much better when I have alone time. Mm-hmm. I've been a stay-at-home mom. I've had lots of alone time. When the kids are gone, Stephen's gone. COVID hits, Stephen is home all the time. And I'm like, I might kill this man if he's around me anymore, right? However, that's more about me than that is about him. Right. So when he texts from the other room, can I get a water? And I'm like, why does he think I'm his assistant? Like I'm pissed. And then I'm like, wait, let's go back to the actual intention here. Right. Has my husband ever thought that I was his assistant? Right?
No.
Like he does not.
No.
Like that's not his intention. His intention is I've been stuck in this room. I'm on this 4-hour phone call and I'm thirsty. Will you please help me?
Yeah.
So while my initial emotional response is like, oh my God, the reality of the situation is like, of course, he needs a little bit of help. Yeah, of course, I'm going to bring you a glass of water. Right. So if you can remember that piece of it and not necessarily respond to the emotional piece that may be brought up.
That's intention, but it's also perspective. It's your perspective.
Yes, I guess that's true.
Both.
I guess it is about perspective, but if you can take a moment to think about the other person and who they are in this relationship.
Mhm.
Like, that's not who he is. He's
Right.
not like, you're just my assistant to be here all day
No.
long. That's not who he is. Sometimes it feels that way, but that's more about me
Mhm.
and my interpretation than it is about him. So I think if you can keep that stuff in mind,
I think that
We're okay.
demonstrates, like, that also demonstrates another reason why this marriage works. Is because she's extremely self-aware
Mhm.
and objective and reasonable and pretty well adjusted.
Mhm.
And without that, like, she's much more well adjusted than I am.
Mm.
And her ability to, um, self-regulate and be aware of her other awareness,
Mhm.
me being the other in this case,
Mhm.
is one of the reasons why we don't get into issues where, like, that's a perfect example. Actually, that's a really good one. So a lot of the credit for us being able to keep an even keel goes to her being a
Well-
good, well-adjusted person.
Well, I think that's probably part of the equation.
Yeah.
Because one might say I have a similar marriage to yours because I am like Cathy. I'm very good at self-regulating. I'm really good at going, okay, what's really going on here? He may be exploding about the car, but he's really upset about whatever else is going on. And I can see that, whereas the reverse doesn't happen as often.
Mhm.
But there's got to be something coming from the other person that is not as self-correcting or as balanced, or it wouldn't be a fulfilling relationship, right? So she's getting something reciprocal from you, like I get from Bert, that makes it a happy, because
Yeah.
she wouldn't be happy
Right.
if you didn't give to her.
Well, I think
right?
the first thing she said too is that, you have to laugh. And
Yes.
truth is, I'm extraordinarily funny. I mean, if not for my sense
And
of
very
humor,
modest and
I
very
mean,
modest.
right? Like, I
Clearly.
mean, I'm no Bert Kreischer, right? But
No, but you
No,
are
but
very witty and
we-
very funny,
but
very
we-
charming.
thank
Mhm.
you.
Sorry.
We laugh. I think we laugh a lot. Like, we laugh not always at the same things,
Mm-hmm.
but there's definitely things that we enjoy together, and there's a certain type of humor in television series that we both really sort of like and
Mhm.
gravitate toward. And it's those things that you form that connection on, that you laugh together about, or you really you enjoy together, and that keeps things I don't want to say fresh, but it just it keeps things going. It's that, you really, I really do think you have to be best friends, or
Mhm.
nearly,
I agree. Yeah.
and really, have that person's really become an extension of you. And I don't think that happened right away. I don't even think that happened in the first few years of marriage, right? Like, and we'd been together for a while prior, but I the throughout all the ups and downs, you still come out the other end with, I think, more love and more understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you make it, 20,
Right.
25 years, 50 years, whatever. Right.
Right.
Because I really do still look forward to the tiny little things,
Mhm.
that people would be like, wow, that's really fucking, you two are fucking boring. And it's like, no, but this is a thing that we like.
yeah.
So
No, those tiny things
That's true. Yeah.
mean a lot, because they seem silly, but like one day Bert was home. He was
Mhm.
having a ridiculous day, and I kept thinking to myself, he just needs a break. So I called him and said, "You want to go get an ice cream cone?" And he was like, "Yes." We had so much fun. We were maybe together half an hour. We drove
Yeah.
up to Baskin Robbins. We got an ice cream cone. We ate it in the car, not driving, just sitting in the car and just laughing and giggling. And I dropped him right back off into the mayhem that he had left. And that little bitty thing of, I knew he needed help, like you knew he needed help with a glass of water. And I was just like, let me just pull you out of here for just a minute. That's not a big thing. That's a very small gesture. That may not be the little thing you're talking about. You're talking about connecting over a TV show or even Scrabble.
Right.
Bert and I could play Scrabble for days on end. And that sounds like old people, like you are like an old person. But when we were broke and we couldn't afford to go to dinner, we would order a $10 pizza and play Scrabble. And that's when we were dating. Yeah. So then you go, well, if that's fun, then imagine what like fun things will be like. Because it's fun, but that's not the same as like going to Vegas or having some real big plan. So what are the little things that you look forward to? Do you think of any off the top of your head?
I mean, I really do look forward. Like, I look forward to going to sleep together every night. Like, there's something about just like, and it's not, because I'm not going.
No hanky panky.
I'm not going there. Like, that's not where I'm not setting us up for a joke here. I wish I was, but I really enjoy that. You turn off the lights, a little bit of talking back and forth, sometimes laughing, whatever. And then it's just peaceful. It's like you're sort of returning to home base.
Aww.
Right. It's very comforting.
That's nice. Bert and I don't do that anymore because he snores so bad. I go, I'm not even going to start out in here. I'm just going to start in the other room. But I do miss that part. We do that in the middle of the day. Like, he is a notorious lay in bed guy when he's home.
Yeah.
I can't do that. It makes me feel like a loser.
That is us too. He loves it. And I'm like, it is like nails on a chalkboard. I would rather do anything but that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll get in the bed with him and just chit chat like you just described. And those little bitty things do mean a lot. Do you have any little things that come to your mind?
No, I think the whole TV thing, I mean, we do a lot of puzzles together. He gets so annoyed every time I pull one out. He's like, oh my God. And then he can't stop. So it becomes this like obsession between the two of us who's going to finish it. Yeah. And then he complains that his back hurts and why would I do this? It's taking up the table. Like, it's all terrible. And then it's very fun, actually. But we have always had this like TV connection. Like, neither of us watch a lot of television, but there's always been throughout our entire history, like 1 or 2 series that we are like vigilant about watching every single week. That is like our 1 hour together or whatever it might be.
Right.
Like,
I think it's important for people to hear that, because I think some people think that a marriage should be like large gestures or grand sweeps or, lightning in a bottle. And it really is so much simpler than that in a lot of ways. It is finding your best friend and who you also want to have sex with and who you also want to solve problems with, who you also want to, share grief with, and saying this is what matters, not the big crazy stuff, because the big crazy stuff just kind of goes away most of the time. It doesn't last. But yeah, that's cool, because I think I just lost my train of thought. I think I think people just get confused, and they need to hear that we do these like simple stupid things that mean a lot, like watching a TV show over and over. That little bitty connection. It could be anything. It could be that you both like your dogs and you hang out with your dogs. Okay. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Doesn't need to be anything crazy.
Right.
What do you think is the biggest challenge about being married? Because there's every marriage has a challenge, but what, even in general, what do you think is the biggest challenge?
In general? I don't know.
I think it changes at different periods, at different times. Like, the challenges have been different. Like, I don't know that there's one collective challenge throughout our entire history. Like at the beginning of COVID, I was nervous. I was like, I don't know that we're going to make it once the kids leave the house and it's just the two of us. And then once I've sort of like realized, I was like, oh yeah, we're cool. We're good. Like, I can do this. Like, he can hear what I need and make that happen. Right. And I think I can hear what he needs and make that happen. Right. And if we can do that, we're golden.
You're good. Yeah.
Like grand gestures, sweet. that's great. But like the rest of it is really the stuff that gets you through and we'll be fine, I think.
Yeah.
So, but like in terms of challenges,
I think you're right.
that's a good question.
I think you're right. The challenges do change with like, whether it's the milestones of life or
aging or
age,
how your money changes.
Yeah.
All
like
that's
I think we've had all of
different.
that, like the
Right.
financial challenges, the like, having babies, having
Relocation.
the location change, like moving cross country, not having roots or being connected and,
Right.
and then
finding new friend groups, but
taking care of aging parents, like all of that kind of stuff, like all of those things, like sort of ebb and flow a little bit. So they've all been challenges at different points.
I think the ones that are probably harder challenges are the ones that you're not doing together. Like moving cross country, we were both doing that. Finding new friends, we were both doing that. Taking care of aging parents, both doing that. Work related stuff that I have that she doesn't have, there just has to be sort of that perspective to sort of understand how that challenge is affecting me, and likewise what's going on in her world that I have to look at and to I don't know how to empathize with that, but I have to be there to support it. And if I'm not, then that triggers the challenge for the marriage itself, because now I'm not really being supportive to her or sympathetic to whatever she might be going through.
Well, that goes back to what I said in the beginning, is if your intention is, I want my partner to be happy,
Right.
Then less things come about winning or ego or power or, me more important than you. It really becomes, well, you're as important as me. I don't think it's healthy to say you're more important than me. Sometimes you are, but most of the time we should be the same important. We should not, nobody gets better than the other. Although people would find that hard to believe at my house. As we know, one person believes himself to be the king. And I am pretty good at just ignoring a lot of his Hail Mary passes that he throws. I'm like, whatever, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I think it goes back to that. When Bert has something really big going on at work, I think this is hard for people too, is that when I know he's got this massive thing happening and he loses his temper with me, not in any kind of abusive or nothing like that, but he loses a temper in a way that I don't really deserve. I try really hard not to react to that the way that I would if he lost his temper, knowing that he was just losing his temper. So to allow, again, that's what you were talking about, is perspective, to go, okay, the bigger picture here is this has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with what's going on for him. And my job is to be supportive and helpful and try not to exacerbate this problem. Now, if the problem is between me and him, that's a different thing. Then you got to deal with that in a different way. But I think it's hard for people to stop and go, wait, this has nothing to do with me, to not take it personally. We as a society, I think, especially a younger generation, take everything personally. And the fact of the matter is, most of it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You just may be getting a little mud slung on you, but you're not the mud puddle. You're not the wheel. You're not the tractor. You just happen to be standing close by.
Right.
And to allow that, I think younger people are like, well, you just can't allow that. Well, to allow someone to sling a little mud can be very helpful to that person and to your relationship, because then you go, oh, well, hold on. This has nothing to do about me. My partner is kind of off in a ditch a little bit.
Struggle.
Yeah. And if I'm going to push the back of the truck, I'm going to get some mud on me, and that's okay. And when we get off, well, I'll take a shower and we'll feel fine. But I don't know if I hear teenagers talking about scenarios going on, and I keep thinking, wow, the absolute black and whiteness of it is going to really get you
these days
in trouble.
But I also think that goes for any relationship, not even just a marriage, like in a friendship too. At some point, you need to allow somebody else to have a minute, whether that's anger, frustration, whatever. It's hard though. Like if somebody attacks you because they're frustrated about something else, like it does immediately trigger your emotional response.
Sure.
And I think sometimes it's really helpful to take a breath and say, okay, this isn't about me. Maybe I can just be the sounding board for a second. It's a hard thing to do.
It's very mature. It takes a lot of maturity, and it takes a lot of something too. I think that you have to do in a marriage is you have to look at things cumulatively in certain areas. If someone yells at you every day for weeks or months or years on end, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If someone yells at you once and those weeks, months, years are pretty good otherwise, there's really maybe not a problem.
Well, that's the thing. There's a certain level of trust. You have to trust that this is just a moment in which this is happening, because there's a history of lots of moments where it doesn't happen.
Right.
So, okay.
Yes.
Everyone gets a moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
Like,
when
that's
that
fair.
moment happens, it doesn't mean that person is now bad forever.
Right.
Depending obviously on the moment. If something completely terrible and horrific happens, someone beats you up and you go, well, he was just having a moment. That might not be healthy. I mean, Bert had a moment. He was just talking about this on a podcast the other day, so I feel like I can talk about it. This moment when we were in Yosemite, when he actually looked at me and said, I've married, well, you didn't hear this, but I've married the wrong person. I have just realized that I have married the wrong person. You are baiting a hook in front of me to emasculate me, and I have married the wrong person. And in that moment, I went, oh, we're not ourself right now. Something else is happening here, and this has nothing to do with what is going on here. You don't mean a word you're saying. You don't actually even know what you're talking about. So keep talking. And it was very upsetting. I'm not saying that I was stoic or without emotion or had no reaction to it. That's incorrect. I did. I had a lot of feelings about it. But the mature part of me went, this has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You may be getting a whole lot of mud, but this really has nothing to do with you. That's so hard to hold on to that. It's not just a belief, it's I really knew that had nothing to do with me. But to keep that and let the rest of it just fly around you can be very hard and takes a lot of maturity and some practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's, I think the intensity of the water example, right? Her being frustrated. I'm not as like that, I think is intensified in your relationship because of who Bert is, but it is also not, it is de-escalated and doesn't become a problem because of who you are.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you're able to counterbalance. And I'm sure likewise, he's able to de-escalate and counterbalance in some cases when maybe you're slinging mud. However, there certainly needs to be that, with the intensity of things and that are going on in Bert's life and the level of dramatics that go along with it.
Yes.
Right. There is that's got to be a lot to take.
It is a lot.
Right.
Yeah. He casts a wide wake.
Yeah.
You have to hold on to the rope super hard.
Yeah.
To be able to but the reward is great. When you catch that big wake, it's amazing.
He's also super self-aware.
He's self-aware. He's very self-correcting.
Yeah.
And he's sometimes not able to hear in the moment what's going on, but he can reflect and come back sort of quickly and go, here's where I was wrong. He's really good at that.
He's
that's
definitely
pretty common too, though. It's really hard to hear in the moment.
I'm sorry, would you say it's uncommon?
No, it's super common.
Okay. Yeah.
It's hard to hear when you're emotional. Like it's hard to hear feedback, especially if it's critical.
Yeah.
Well, I find fascinating is that
I'm sorry, real quick.
No, go ahead.
But being accountable and owning up to and apologizing, is that as common? I mean, I hope it is, but I think a lot of times relationships, marriages fail because people don't want to look themselves in the mirror and be accountable and apologize and
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And want the other person to be happy. And if that other person needs an apology to be happy, then that's what you should do.
Mhm.
And don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you said that, because that is something actually my therapist and I talk about a lot when we have these off the deep end moments, you baited a hook, so you've emasculated me moments, which have happened more than just that one example with him. They do happen because, like in your marriage, one of you is much more emotionally wired, passionate, reactive than the other. So, and I think that's true for a lot of marriages. If we look at all our friend group, we can go, oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one and that one. And then the other ones are me and Cathy. And then, so it takes that kind of, yin and yang really, because it's not exciting if you're two of the same, if you're both like me. I mean, Kylie and Lou joke all the time that if Tom and I were married, no one would ever talk in the house. They'd just be working. Everybody just be working.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're probably right. We just work until we fell asleep. And then we get up and work until we fell asleep and no one would talk. So she was like, you gotta, dad needs mom because then it makes the house kind of work.
Right.
But I think I talk to Jackie about that all the time. She was like, the thing about Bert is he goes to the moon. He goes off the deep end. He says things are ridiculous. And because they're ridiculous, they're not destructive for you.
Right.
So then if he were never accountable, if he never held himself accountable, you'd have a problem.
Right.
But you don't have a problem because I am mature enough and strong enough to know the difference. Like when I can just sit back and let him come unraveled, or when I need to step up and go, okay, this is unfair. And I have to pick the times when I go, okay, this time I'm going to fight. Like this time, this is ridiculous. I've had enough of this particular whatever's happening. But he does always come back, whether I fight or not. He'll come back and say, here's where I think I was wrong. Almost every time. It's a really admirable quality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as good at it as he is. I think I'm better in the moment at seeing balance. But if he gets me really upset, then I'm like, fuck you, dude. You're not getting any apology. I've given you so many graces that you can kiss my ass. That's what I do. And then he gets really upset because I never go.
Somebody else is like that. That's interesting.
Isn't it interesting?
Somebody else I know is similar to.
It's like we can take a lot. We can take a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I got to go, no. Now you've crossed into a place where I'm not going to be making like concessions or understanding your point of view. At a certain point, you got to stop and fucking understand mine. And he has a really hard time with that. If we're fighting, then I am negating him. I am telling him he's wrong. I'm trying to win a fight where I'm like, no, I'm actually just telling you I'm not willing to accept your position. Sometimes I can accept it, but I can't this time. And he sees it as like betrayal, mutiny. And I'm like, not mutiny. I'm not mutinying myself.
Yeah.
But how do you think? So, right, this started with somebody who's been married for 7 months. How did we get from 7 months to 20 years or whatever it might be, right?
Patience.
But if young people don't have that perspective or whatever, and you've only been married for 7 months and you have a spouse who goes off about whatever it might be that's irrational and you're getting the mud slung at you, how did we get to realize that that wasn't actually real and that we could accept and own it and move on? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Like, I don't
think the relationship,
like thinking back, like now it's super easy to understand for both of us when one of us is being irrational or whatever, right? Did it start out that way? I'm not sure it did because, clearly 20 years, 30, 40, whatever it was years ago, we were not this mature or understanding. Or
I was, but
clearly you were. But we didn't know each other as well.
Right.
Right. So how do you make it that far?
I mean,
Like
that's a really good question. Why? How did you get here?
Right.
Well, one of the things I was going to say that this will tie into what you're talking about when I asked you what's the biggest challenge about being married. For me, the biggest challenge about being married is having no base of experience for what a good marriage looks like. So you have to really figure it out, right? And then to resist instincts because that's what you witnessed. If one of my mom's husbands got in a fight with her, she just divorced him.
Right.
Like if you disagree with her, I'm out. And there's so many times where instinctively I want to be like, I'm fucking out. I'm out. But I've never, ever, I almost don't even let myself voice it. But my gut goes, just go. Just freaking bounce, man. And I have to really say, that's unhealthy. That's not what you want.
Right.
That doesn't fulfill your intention. That doesn't help you get anywhere.
Well, I think, it's almost like he found the person he needed and you found the person that you needed.
Oh, absolutely.
Because speaking of intensity, what you dealt with growing up and what you witnessed, and then having been able to come through that as a mentally and emotionally healthy person now has given you the tools and the resilience to be able to deal with the mudslinging that you do sometimes get from somebody who has the level of intensity Bert has.
Right.
Right?
Yes, the same intensity I grew up with. Very similar.
I wonder, what was it for us?
But my point in saying that is that was a muscle I had to develop. I had to consciously develop that muscle because my muscle was so atrophied. Mine was like deformed. And so I had to like really rehabilitate that muscle. I was hyper aware of it. I wonder if you, instead of having the instinct to leave, had the instinct to stay and to work on that muscle in that way. Well, this is forever. We're staying. So how do I make myself understand this better, process this more helpfully? I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. That's good perspective. I don't know. Because I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I did assume that my parents would always stay together. They got divorced after 33 years of marriage. So that was pretty much out of the blue for all of us. So yeah, I don't know if maybe that was the perspective, like you just stay and
figure it out.
Yeah. So what do we got? 3 more years, babe? 5 more years?
You're almost out.
And then I'm out.
Almost out of the woods.
Wouldn't be surprised.
I would be very surprised.
I had a really, thankfully, luckily, I had a really pretty good, overall, a pretty healthy picture of what a loving mother and father were like. My father doted over my mother and even would be like, oh, you're going to the grocery store? I'll come. Like he loved being with her and always wanted her around. And
well, she is adorable.
My mother is adorable.
She's lovely and adorable. And I could see that happening for her.
So it was clear to him and it was clear to us and it was clear to his friends, that he adored her. Right.
Well, that you've definitely
Very
replicated
similar.
that.
Yes.
It is clear that you adore Cathy.
Yeah.
To everyone who knows you.
Except for Cathy.
It's lovely. No, Cathy knows it. I just don't know that she wants to be adored quite as much as you like to adore her.
Well, there's
like her
He's
friendly.
Like, wait, you're going to the store? Yes, let's go. I'm like, I want to go.
I don't really want to follow.
Speaking on her behalf.
I don't really want to follow her to the store. I want to follow her into the shower.
I know, right?
Just let me in the shower and then I won't want to go to the store.
Yeah, right. Introvert meets introvert.
Right.
Exactly.
Sometimes the store is like, I'm alone at last. In a store full of people pushing a wobbly wheeled cart. I'm alone at last. Because I also have an adoring husband who would prefer I wear him in a baby Bjorn every day when he's home. And I sometimes are like, when he has those 10-day stretches home, I'm super excited and I'm filled with dread at the same time. I'm super excited mostly, but there's this part of me going, I am actually not going to breathe.
Is somebody going to now
4 days.
send you art of you wearing a baby Bjorn
Bert.
with Bert and a baby Bjorn? Because I've seen the shit that comes in here.
That's
and
really
it's
funny.
hysterical.
Some of it is really funny. That's really funny. That's what I feel like most of the time when he's home. Although he's been really busy the last few times he's been home and I haven't got to see him very much. And it makes me miss him
Yeah.
because I'm used to being like smothered by Bert when he's home.
Right.
But I haven't gotten that opportunity in the past couple months.
Yeah.
He comes home, is just
He's
boom,
in
boom,
it,
boom,
yep.
boom, boom. He's either in the sauna or the polar plunge or the hot tub or asleep. And I don't ever see him. But anyway. So you had that example. You've definitely replicated that.
Right.
To an extent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my impression is that your dad didn't adore your mom in the way that his parents were.
No, not at all.
I didn't think so.
No. No, I mean, my family, shockingly, is super closed off, including my parents. Like, who knew? Right. I mean, I think he definitely adored her, but wasn't verbal about it. Like, I'll never forget when I went home and found out they were getting divorced. My dad handed me my mom's Christmas gift and was like, well, I guess I can't give this to her now. And he gave it to me.
Aww.
It was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So like he had the vision that this is forever, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what happened in their marriage. I don't know if he didn't put enough effort in. Who knows? I mean, and I'll never know because my dad's not here anymore. So I can't ask. And I have a very one-sided picture from my mom.
Right.
And I don't know that I believe her perspective necessarily on that whole relationship. So I'm not sure.
Interesting.
But I think he definitely felt he was convinced it was forever.
Right.
But it wasn't as outwardly known clearly as much as your dad. And I actually only knew your dad for like a year, but you could tell it's absolutely the same. He's definitely just like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That
It's
must
pretty
be
cool.
really cool to grow up in a household like that. I mean, that must be really cool.
I mean, look, they had their problems.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But-
Well, so does every marriage.
But there was love,
Mm-hmm.
like abundance of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I think I instinctively modeled that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want our
Right.
kids to instinctively model and
100%,
expect.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I want our son to grow up thinking this is how you treat your spouse.
Right.
Right. And I want our daughter growing up going, this is what I should expect and reciprocate, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not like she just gets it all, but you know, like I think they have a pretty good idea of what a healthy marriage should look like.
Right.
So let's hope that they
sticks.
replicate it
Yeah.
in their lives. But
Well, I know that I knew for sure. The one thing I knew about Bert was interesting. Bert is like a perfect molding of both of my parents. There was nothing in my childhood that ever let me have any inkling my dad did not adore me. Ever. Now, I didn't live with him for a while. I didn't, because I lived with my mom, but there was never a nanosecond in my life where I thought he doesn't like me or doesn't want to spend time with me or wouldn't wish I were with him instead of at my mom's ever. So I definitely married that, right?
Mhm.
Also, because I remember Bert saying to me when we were dating, I'm not going anywhere. Like, you're not going to be able to get rid of me. And I believed him. And I believed him in a way that I believed my dad. So I think that was something that I needed. I needed to really believe the person I was with was not going anywhere because my mom had left over and over again. I mean, she was like,
right.
You disobeyed me? I'm not talking to you for a year and a half. You disobeyed me again? I'm not talking to you for a year and a half. So then you go, well, I have no interest in that being my forever. Is that somebody just goes, yep, peace out. I'll be back in a year and a half. So as much as Bert has a lot of like flair and drama and narcissistic tendencies like my mom, he has that base of my dad, which at the heart of him, he really likes to barbecue, float the river, play cards,
and
watch
respect,
TV.
and has an inherent respect of women and the institution of marriage. I mean, even when he talks about like girlfriends that he talks about them as like he was committed to that.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely who he is.
Yeah,
Which
it's true.
I I look at Papa J and I'm like, oh, he's a guy who respects women,
Yeah.
puts them on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think I could see that. I could see that connection that you're making.
So I've said this before on a podcast, but when I took that test a long time ago before I started my podcast, a personality test? The value set test. One of the things he said was how you can tell a couple will be together forever is that their values line up. They don't all have to match perfectly, but majority of them really line up. And I think mine and Bert's value system lines up very well. There's some things that I don't like that he does, and I'm sure vice versa. But for the most part, our value system really line up. Would you say that's true for you?
Yeah.
For the most part.
I think so.
But like that you're saying that now is a bit of an epiphany because there's certain things that like, I'm like, oh, and it's because her value on that thing is not the way I am.
Right.
Right. Like we know there's a little bit more passivity and I'm a little bit more sort of,
let's do it
out there. Go, go.
Yeah.
Right? And so like, and how that feeds into areas of our lives where I'm just like, God, don't be so passive. Like, and then that causes a struggle.
Right.
And then it causes an argument. And
right.
on and on and on. And then there's mudslinging and now we're back to right. So, but I didn't really realize that it's a value difference that causes that.
I think your value system causes almost all of your arguments when you get down to it.
What
right?
we've learned is that you need to have better values.
That's not what we learned.
Wait, did I miss something?
Yes, you did. You
Slightly.
did. Yes. Your epiphany was great until that last part.
I was close.
You
Thought
were
I had
so
it.
close. But I don't know.
See, that's interesting because I don't know if that's a value system as opposed to a personality style. Right? Like, I think our values are pretty aligned.
I agree.
And she's disagreeing with me.
I agree with her, actually.
And
You're probably right.
you
probably right.
approach it because of your personality differently than I do. But fundamentally, we agree mostly on the same things. Like, we value the same things. We value our marriage. We value our family. We value working hard. You go about that in a very different way than I do. However, we both still have that same value.
Yeah, work
right?
ethic.
Like, so I think, I don't know, I see it a little bit differently, but
that's the value system I see too. Honesty, integrity.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
And not this. Yeah. Honesty, integrity. How you fight. Like we never name call in fighting, and we've never even talked about it. It's never been like, okay, we're going to set a
Here's
rule.
the
There's no
rules.
name calling. We just don't defame character. We don't name call in a fight. That's just, you can say whatever you need to say without calling somebody a name. When you're in a passionate, upset, emotional place, why would you do that? It's just so bad. Then that's something that we never had to talk about. We just all of a sudden one day we were hearing someone else talk about fighting with their spouse, and we looked at each other and went, "We never do that. Like we've never done that. We would never. I would never do that." So then you have to go, well, that's a value system. That's part of that thing that you build everything on top of. I don't value Bert watching a lot of porn. I don't really think that's great. And for whatever reason, he values it, and I want him to be happy. So if it doesn't mean enough to my value system, but it might mean enough to someone else's. So someone else may have that value system where you go, no porn, no strip clubs. I don't really care enough about it to deprive him of it if it makes him happy, because I trust him, because he's not cheating on me.
Right.
He would never cheat on me, because he knew if he did, all of this would be over, and he would never want that to happen.
Right.
So that trust is the value system that I would rather have than whether or not he goes to a strip club for me.
And again, that's almost like the personality piece, though. Like the value is the marriage is important.
Yeah.
And you need this little piece of going to the strip club, watching porn, whatever. Yeah. I don't need that. But like our value is that if you get this, this is still the most important thing. So you're like, all right, who cares then?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think I have no judgment on people who have a different value system. Totally fine. If you're like, no porn, no strip clubs, go for it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you have to go, how much does it really mean? Does it threaten that base value system?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then you got a problem.
That's a different story.
Yeah, you got a problem. It doesn't threaten mine because
That makes sense.
where's he going? He's not going anywhere. Let's face it.
So I think what we learned is you want to go to a strip club.
with
true.
with Stephen.
Yes.
Ooh.
Together. Maybe that's someone else's value system. You can go to a strip club
Right.
if you go with me.
Yeah. Right. No, that makes sense.
I don't know. I think that value system piece, when he told me that, because our personalities in that personality test were completely different.
Yeah.
Like massively different, like almost to the point of dysfunction.
Like, I feel like sometimes ours are too. Like, we are very different people in the way we approach the world and function and think about things sometimes.
Yeah.
But
That's for sure.
there's so much that we agree on.
Yeah.
Like,
At
there
the
is the
base.
base.
Yeah, it's the base.
Like, if we didn't have that, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I think. But
I agree.
What
as
do you
you
think
should.
in your marriage was the hardest part about having kids?
Oh.
Ugh. That's a
You
good
mean
question.
how does it strain or challenge the marriage?
Yeah.
Like I think maybe it's that you're both doing something that you don't necessarily completely know how to do until you've done it once or twice. And then you're like, oh, I know this parenting thing, but that
Yeah.
takes years.
Yeah.
And so we're both doing it for the first time and trying to make good decisions based on the common values, etc. Right. But we're still like, you're still not sure. And so there'd be times where it strains the marriage because we kind of disagree. And so how do you deal with the kid who needs this support or is asking for something? Or how do you get on the same page? Not just about like, can they have dessert? It's the bigger things. And I think
And can they have dessert?
that too.
Yeah.
But I think some of the strain related to kids would have been becoming finding a way to parent together. And even when you don't know if it's the right choice that you're making or you're being guided by your spouse to make a choice and you don't agree with it, how do you not carry that over, that frustration over into the marriage? That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right on some level. I think if you don't agree initially, like when you're about to co-parent, in the heat of the moment, it's really tricky to present as a united front because you need to present as a united front to the kid.
Right.
But you're like in the background, you're like making faces at each other going like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like hopefully like the kid's not noticing or
Right.
whatever. That is definitely a challenge. I think that's more of a challenge now that they're older than it was when they were younger. I feel like younger, we were more easily on the same page in terms of parenting.
I have to agree with everything you said, both of you, because that is where it strains the marriage, is when you are not on the same page, but you either have to get on the same page, or sometimes for me, I can't get on the same page. Like I can't, now you've crossed over into my value system problem and I can't get on that page. Getting on that page is now, in my point of view, lying to my kid about who I am. And I can't do that. Like I have to find some way to justify or qualify why I'm on the same page as him against my will. And that causes problems because we have very different parenting experiences from our own parents. Neither of them perfect, or none of the three of them perfect. And we bring all that into the mix, mistakes and triumphs that our family have had, and they're very different. My parenting, what I received from parenting was drastically different than Bert. And I can say they were both flawed. Very flawed, as you would probably say about your parents.
Yes.
But that, I agree with you. That that's the biggest strain on the marriage. That, and after I had kids, I don't know if this is true for you. I think we maybe talked about this before. My libido and sex drive totally changed because of many things. I think I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I felt like a completely different body. I didn't recognize myself from the, neck down half the time. And I was uncomfortable with that. And I was freaking exhausted because my husband was gone 5 days a week. And that's an intense parenting and you're so tired. And Bert has always had this huge sex drive. And I think that caused us problems a long time ago because we couldn't get on the same page with that. And at a certain point, I would try to rev it up, baby. But I'm like, I revved it up 2 nights ago, dude. I can't rev it up again. I'm so tired. And there's no acceptance of, oh, she's so tired. We only got these 2 nights I'm home. So we got to, that was hard in the beginning, when our kids were younger. Now that I've gotten more consistent sleep and I'm not when you have a 1 and a 3-year-old,
the sleep
you're
thing is,
I didn't know which end was up
Yeah.
and he wasn't even home. So that caused a lot of tension, a lot of problems in our earlier marriage.
Yeah.
It was because we were just on completely different pages sexually.
Yeah.
And for him, sex means a lot. I mean, it's a Scorpio. For me, at that point in time, I was like, if I never have it again, it'll be too fucking soon. I just want to sleep and I'd like someone to rub my back without any collateral. I just rub my back. That's all I wanted.
Back rub, no expectations.
No expectations.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
let me fall asleep
Yeah.
while you're doing it. That's it. So that was a hard thing. And I'm sure he and I've talked about that a lot when our kids probably were 4th and 5th grade, because we'd had several years where everything had kind of calmed down and emotions kind of calmed down. And he was like, I bet you that's why men cheat. It's because they don't think that time's ever going to end.
Mhm.
They think this is it forever. And it wasn't it forever, but it definitely changed permanently compared to
what it was
when we were dating and real hot for each other,
Yeah.
And we didn't date long enough. We dated for 1.5 years and we were still pretty hot for each other, and then got married and then immediately had kids. So we didn't have that cooling down period between the two.
Right.
So he's used to this hot mama and then nothing for 6 weeks, after you
Right.
have a baby, and then not a lot after that because I was just
right.
just
And then
shot.
baby number 2 pops out.
And it starts
The
all over
beginning is
again.
really hard.
Yes,
I think
it
that
is.
strains any marriage for a number of reasons. The
Mhm.
sleep, the sex, just the constant need to provide for someone else,
Mhm.
and he definitely came in 2nd, 3rd, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The babies come first.
They have to.
and He's working all the time. And yeah, it's definitely a huge challenge for any marriage at the beginning with kids, I think.
I think so too.
Anyway, but
That's so much more personal and so it's more of an internal factor maybe for between the marriage. It's sex, love, commitment, values. That's as opposed to the how do we parent this external thing on the
Yeah.
same page,
Yeah.
or how do we deal with our finances, an external thing on
Yeah.
we deal with that without it. So we're going to be stressed about finances, stressed about the house, stressed about our parents, your parents, stressed about these kids and their schools, and not stressed, but challenged.
Yeah.
There are challenges that come along. And those are all external factors beating against the marriage.
Mhm.
And then you've got sex and other things that are internal to the relationship
Mhm.
that really can make it explode. I
Mhm.
think to some degree, we've been pretty good at keeping the external factors
Mhm.
from really pushing on us,
Right.
whether it's financial or children or what have you, and just had to be resilient together about the
Mhm.
things that didn't go our way.
Right.
But the internal things that really I think that really are a danger to any marriage. Sex is a perfect one, because
Yeah.
without that connection, that's the only person in the world you're going to have that connection to
Yeah.
forever,
For the rest of your life.
for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And this is the person you're going to love
Yeah.
and sleep next to and grow old with and all of those things.
Mhm.
And when one of those things goes away,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, well, hold on. Now,
What is the meaning of this?
right.
I think it does make you ponder the question, what is the meaning of this? I heard Dr. Phil say once that sex is about 10% of the marriage unless there's a problem. If
And
there's
then
a problem, it's
Yeah.
90%.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty accurate because I know it's all Bert could deal with when I couldn't deal with it. It's all he wanted to deal with.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need to not deal with this. You know what I need? 2 nights in a row of sleep. Never forget, Isla turned 1. I weaned her at 1. And we had planned, she turned 1 July 18th. My birthday's August 20th. So for my birthday, we went away. The first night, I slept 14 hours. The second night, I slept 18 hours. And he came home going, that was the shittiest. I thought I was going to be banging guts. He kept saying, we're going to be banging guts from like sun up to sundown. I can't keep my wife awake. And I was like, dude, I've been waking up and breastfeeding for a year. This was like the first time I'm away from them. He was so disappointed. And I was like, hey, it's my birthday. I get to do what I want to do on my birthday.
Yeah.
And it's
That's not
called
you.
sleep.
Yeah.
I just want to sleep. But I think that was, he took it actually in great humor. I think what it did is it made him realize the extent of exhaustion I really had hit.
Right.
Mhm.
Because, of course, we're in a hotel. Of course, I would be like, yeah, baby. I could not physically stay awake. And I think he went, oh, she wasn't kidding.
She wasn't just trying to avoid me.
No, she was like exhausted. And he
Right.
let me sleep the whole time. So he didn't like try to wake me up to go to dinner. He just kept ordering room service. At one point he was like, let's go get a massage. I walked down, got a massage, fell asleep in the massage, came back home, went back to sleep. It was ridiculous. But I was
That's
like,
great,
see, I told you I'm exhausted. I was really tired. So anyway, I think if young couples can just realize that's kind of normal, not the
Yeah.
extreme exhaustion I'm talking about, but there's a push and pull and there's kind of a readjustment of what's important right when you first have kids. I think it all comes back around to some extent later, but when you're in the trenches with those young kids,
Yeah.
it really does, for women at least, move down the totem pole quite a lot.
Of course, and there's physiological things going on too, right? Hormones are
Yes.
doing whatever hormones do after pregnancy, right? So
You're
makes it even-
biologically, your body does not want to get pregnant again. Why would it biologically go, let's have sex?
Let's do that again.
It wouldn't do that. The science of that doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So to have an expectation that your, girlfriend or wife before who was hot and heavy is just all of a sudden going to be hot and heavy when you've got a 6-week-old might be unrealistic. So to have that kind of perspective, I think is really helpful.
yeah, I think it was those first few months made a lot more sense to me.
Mhm.
It was the months after.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And then we had another one pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so, oh crap. Now, okay, fine. Give it. And then it's like, all right. So everything's healed. We're in a groove. Nothing's swollen where it's not supposed to be. We're gonna get back. And it is a slow
Yeah.
crawl.
Mhm.
And it's
It
never
is.
as you said, it's never back to what it was.
No, it's never
right?
back to
No.
like fucking in the truck at the dead end street because you just got to do it. I'm not doing that. We got to get home to our kids, or the kids are in the car seat in the car with you.
Well, you're definitely
so
not
you're
doing
you're not doing
Right.
that. But I mean, I said this to Bert. I was like, if you had stitches in your dick, would you just be super excited to like stick it somewhere? Probably not. I had stitches in my vagina. I'm not like, yeah, can you stretch that out and let's see how it goes? I'm not really looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely not
that sounds
during that time.
terrible.
Especially
So-
with that picture.
I mean, I'm like, and even, I don't know how other women, but I had a lot of sensitivity. Like there was a lot of stuff going on down there. So the
Yeah.
whole time you're having sex, you're like, what's happening? What is that feeling? That doesn't feel great. That doesn't feel great either. This is not comfortable. I'm not enjoying this. I am so stressed now. Just get off of me. But that's not enjoyable. I don't really want to volunteer to do that. Hey, can we do that thing again where I'm completely stressed out and can't get my mind off anything? No orgasm for me, please. Thank you. Because I can't stop thinking.
Sign me up.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I think I wish men could experience it for like a week. If you could just have a week of a post-natural childbirth, stitched up vagina, you'd go, got it. Got 10-4. This may be 6 to 9 months before I want to look at you again. This is bad. I don't know. Anyway, I think regarding marriage, if couples can just know that they're going to be on a different page for a little bit.
Yeah.
If you expect to be not on the same page, I think it's much easier. Bert just expected 6 weeks and one day I'd be right back where I was before.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to expect. No one had a conversation with me about even what an episiotomy healing process would be. No one even explained, no nurse, no pre-op. No one said, hey, you're going to have stitches. I know it's 6 weeks, but really it's going to take you X amount of time. That was never told to me.
Right.
So I know for sure it wasn't told to Bert. So how would he even know to think like that?
Right.
He wouldn't. So anyone listening out there, just know you're going to be on a different page when you have kids. I think when kids first come and teenagers is when it's the most challenging in your marriage.
Right.
Right.
I agree. I think that's the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
Teenagers
are tough because you're not on the same page. And as we podcasted before, as lots of people can relate to, relationship with dad is a bit difficult sometimes in those teen years for girls anyway. I don't know how Max has been, and I don't have boys, so I can't speak to that.
I mean, I think boys, girls, there's always difficult times. And it's sometimes it's difficult with one and not the other, right? It's not just we together are having problem parenting this child.
Right.
It's, there is that, or I think very often it's one parent who communicates differently and isn't able to rationalize their frustration,
right,
or regulate their frustration in the same way that the other parent is, and that causes friction. And it, I think I don't know that we would say, I guess we're pretty much on the same page though when it comes to how we parent, or what we want to parent, or what we don't think is acceptable, what our expectations are. I think that was, I don't know if we ever had a conversation about it though.
So then do you think, because I know where our conflict happens is method of parenting, not necessarily that something needs to be parented. It's method. It's like Bert is very like, you will listen to me. And I am very like, they're not going to listen to you if you do that. And so his method of parenting is a lot of the times what I don't agree with at this stage of parenting is I go, you have to ask questions and they'll hang themselves. You don't go to them and say, I know you're lying. You did ABC. I know you did, if you don't really know it. Because then they've got you. You got to go, where are you? I'm at such and such's house. I actually know that you're not. Ooh. Well, can you drive home or have you been drinking? Oh, well, then you ask the question in a way that they hang themselves. And then they're accountable for it because they've hung themselves. Instead of going to this is just one example of how we're not on the same page. Instead of him going, I know that you're not at that house. I know that you are here. And then it becomes combative. Whereas if they hang themselves over and over again, they got no leg to stand on. So our methodology, and I go, being oppressive, I am the parent and you will do it because I say so, doesn't teach them a lesson. You're just teaching them they must comply. That's what the Army does. You don't ask a question, you just comply. Well, then you're teaching them not to think for themselves. You have to teach them to think about a circumstance. That's our difference in approach. And he says at times that my approach allows them to walk all over me. And his approach makes them kind of, quote, mind. And I just don't agree with it. They may mind in your face, but they're going to do it again. Whereas, and they're not perfect with me either, by the way.
Right.
They still cheat and whatever with me too. But at the end of the day, what is the purpose of the parenting? The purpose of the parenting to me is to get them to think better and to make better choices from their own thought process, not to say, would my dad like this? Probably not, so I shouldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? Where he's thinking, I'm your parent. I say what goes. You do what I say.
And that probably is, he's modeling what the way he was parented.
Exactly. Whereas my dad I'm modeling what I was parented. My dad would sit down and go, well, what do you think about that? Do you think that was a good choice? He already knew all the answers. He just needed me to come up with the answers, you know, and I go, that's probably a bad choice. So then it teaches you how to think. But we have so many arguments about that methodology and not about the problem. We agree whatever the problem with parenting is bad. They've screwed up. They're against a value system. They're off in a ditch. They're failing a class, whatever it is. But our methodology is so different at this age. When we were younger, it seemed a lot easier because you don't say because I said so when they're younger.
Right.
You have to kind of give them a different kind of parenting thing. And I think sometimes Bert feels like they're old enough to know that what I say goes. I shouldn't have to explain myself. Where I go, they are actually 4 years old, except 15. In their brain, it's the same. I don't know. Anyway, does that happen for you? Do you argue about how you parent as opposed to what you're parenting?
Go ahead. Okay. See where this goes.
I do think that happens a little bit. I also think, though, that some of the struggle is that we don't necessarily parent, I don't want to say the same values, but the way he perceives adolescents should experience the world or explore or whatever is much more loose than my interpretation. Yeah. So he's much more lenient. Like when we were away camping, Max had a curfew at 1 a.m. I would never have greenlit that. No, I wasn't there. I wasn't the parent.
Yeah, totally.
It's his choice. He gets to do whatever he wants. But 1 a.m., I don't really think that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like midnight is fine. Right. So I think those are some of the things that okay, like I have to trust. Like he's the dad, he can make the call, like fine, but that's not what I would have done. And those I think are some of the difficulties we experience.
Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, clearly we're going to be talking about Max having a curfew at 1 a.m. last weekend. But
well, you're talking about it now.
Yeah.
But we didn't. Like I didn't even bring it up.
No,
right?
You
he followed whatever rules you set out for him.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is the expectation. He will follow whatever rules he is given.
Right.
Right. And if that is your rule,
right, we
expect him to follow that. And he did. So fine.
So question is, do I feel like we're sometimes parenting from a different value system? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you actually said that very well, like how they should experience not just adolescence, but their current years, their young adult years. I had a very different childhood than she did. Mm-hmm. And there are mistakes I made that I'm like, they got to go make those mistakes and learn from them.
Right.
And there are things I experienced that like opened my eyes, not mistakes, but things I was able to experience and where I succeeded and gained confidence that I'm like, please go out there and get some of that. Right?
Break some rules.
Do something.
Have a good time. Yeah.
Do something. And it's not even just about breaking rules, but if,
I don't mean rules like that.
Yeah,
I mean, just
But like if staying out till 1 a.m., and I know you're not harping on this, but if that extra hour of being out was him being able to spend a little bit more time, be out a little later, have a little bit more sense of freedom, laugh a little more and build an experience, great. Mm-hmm. Right. Especially these days where, they've spent a couple of years
inside,
a lot more locked down. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, and I'm sure there are other examples that you could cite of where maybe we were off a little bit based on how we view some of these things.
It's really hard too, because I think
It's hard.
not just in a marriage, but in our parent group in general, we were all on the same page when they were younger.
Yeah.
And now all of them driving, whatever, you can go from family to family to family that you've known for years, and everybody's standards / rules / value system is completely different.
Yep.
And it's hard to reconcile that, because then you go, what was okay 5 years ago is not okay now. So we're telling you that family's not okay now, who is like your cousins, right? We're like, we've grown up with these people.
Right.
We've known them. We know them to be good people.
And so,
However, there's this one piece where we're not lining up.
right.
It's really hard. I think it's hard for the kids to understand too, because
it's hard as a parent to understand that, to think that you're in alignment with like these other people that co-parent with you on some level, right? And to all of a sudden be like, oh, wow, I thought, okay, so we're not on the same page. How do I handle that?
yeah.
And how do I handle that in front of my child?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I think that is challenging. And I think sometimes
Super.
you and I don't agree on some of those things. So that's tricky, right?
Mhm.
So
It is tricky. And, we question ourselves too. We are like, is it illegal for you to drink? We're not stupid. We know that
Right.
you're in high school and you're going to drink, but I can't, as your parent, go for it.
right.
Make yourself a cocktail. I'm not going to do that. But I know there are parents in your circle who are okay with that. I'm not okay with that.
Right.
So you have to be in the presence of those parents and be strong enough and mature enough to go, my parents are not okay with that. I'm not going to do that. Nearly impossible. That's nearly impossible.
Right.
But we still lay the task at their feet, right?
Yes.
Go, this is what I need from you. Well, recently Bird said to me, as we always evaluate and reevaluate our parenting, he was like, is that a mistake? Because if they learn to drink in a safe place, are they safer when they go to college?
Mm.
And I don't know the answer. Well, I don't really know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean,
like,
we had a very safe place to drink. I mean, we drank a ton in high school.
Oh, are you kidding? I
and-
drank constantly in high school.
And
not at all.
and
Of course,
We-
Shocking.
yeah.
I know.
Of course not, Cathy.
and eventually, as we got to, senior year, there was even one friend's house that was like safe place to
Yeah.
Dad said, if you're gonna do it here.
Yeah.
I'll even go. I don't want you getting arrested buying. I don't want
Yeah.
like. But I know also that that friend, he didn't have a very easy experience drinking in college, and
Right.
and had some really negative fallout.
Right.
And was it because of that? I don't know. But I think, I remember going back and visiting that with that dad and mom, just because I happened to be in town. And he said, it's been really hard for him. And maybe we were too open and easy about the drinking on the
Right.
holidays
Right.
and the keg parties. And as a parent, you got to think, oh, what did I, that's a regret you're never going to live.
Oh,
live,
totally.
live down, right?
You can't fix it.
You
Right.
can't fix that.
No,
right?
you can't fix it.
So I don't know about leniency. Toward like, yeah, there's a safe place. Bring your friends like that. I would definitely not that.
No. We're not that either.
Yeah.
But
Right.
we asked the question,
Right.
what is the right thing? Like, to me, I was like, it's not legal. Your brain's not fully developed. I can't green light that. You have to have some boundaries. These things are set in place for a reason. We've agreed to live in this society. Society has said 21 years old, so we have to do that. That's the law. But, to think she's going to go away to college and never have drank I'd be an idiot.
Right.
Right.
So it's hard to find that kind of balance. Not that I would ever green light anybody underage drinking in my house.
Right.
But how do you have that balance? That's a really hard thing.
And it's hard
It
for
is
them.
hard.
It's hard for them.
I
Yes.
mean, we actually, I think you said it, but the way it came out, or the way I remember it, we said it, but it was really good. So it's probably you. But at one point it was to Max, who's older, and so we said, look, we know that you're going to be around drinking, probably even going to be around some drugs. Maybe they're legal, maybe they're not. You're going to be around things that you're not able to, supposed to, or is legal to do.
Right.
And we know that at some point you're going to try something, and it's probably going to be before you're 21. It's probably going to be before it's legal. It doesn't mean we're okay with that.
Right.
We recognize the reality.
Right.
And we want you to be safe and smart. And if you get into a situation, not hide it from us.
Right.
So that you don't exacerbate the situation.
Right.
But it's still not okay.
Right.
And so that brain is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like this
Very
teenage
confusing.
brain. Right.
Right. We're not giving you permission, but we know that it's probably going to happen anyway.
Right. And Max went, what?
Yeah. Right.
Like,
hold on,
Like, I
guys.
accept that it's happening, but you don't have a green
Permission.
light for this. Like,
Yeah.
it's not okay. But
Yeah.
again, I'm not stupid.
Yeah. We had the same conversation with Georgia and with Isla.
Yeah.
Is that we're not dumb. We know this is going to happen, but it's not okay. We just keep going. It's illegal. So I can't really condone illegal activity.
right.
Like I can't condone you driving without a driver's license. I can't condone you walking into a Walmart and stealing something, or any store for that matter.
Right.
And I can't condone you drinking when you're underage, because if we've agreed to abide by the law, then we're going to abide by the law. You've never seen your dad drive.
And
after
all
he's
of
been
the
drinking,
laws, not
ever.
just the ones that are convenient.
Yes, all of them.
Like-
So that's kind of been our message, and we're not stupid. We know
Yes.
that it's probably going to happen. So just be honest. We did the same thing. Be honest,
Right.
please. If honesty is
Yeah.
all we ask for. Okay, so marriage. Back to marriage. What do you think? Do you think anything will be challenging going forward? If you could anticipate something, is there anything you anticipate being difficult?
Yeah, I really thought that us spending so much time together, like when the kids are out of the house and it's just back to the two of us, I really thought I was not going to be able to handle the amount of connectedness he needs and wants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that way as much anymore. I feel like we've had enough conversations about how important it is for me to have space, and he really gets and understands and respects that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we'll be okay. But I was really worried about that.
Yeah.
Like after this COVID thing where he's home 24/7, and I also realized that, again, perspective, like I see it as though he's home and now he's ruined my life. Right. But the truth
But she loves you, Stephen.
But the truth
Clearly.
is, like, his life
Right.
has been ruined too, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he no longer gets to leave the house. He no
Right.
longer has that social connection with all of his colleagues.
Which fulfills
Like,
a big need for
a
him.
huge
Yeah.
need.
That's a huge
Right.
need
He
for
doesn't
him.
Business trips,
Yeah.
They don't like
gone.
Strip clubs.
Strip
I mean,
clubs.
well, there's that.
You beat me to it.
But but he doesn't, like on Zoom, he doesn't connect. He doesn't have the same social stuff that he
Right.
had. Like
Yeah, no, it's
that
not.
doesn't happen. And he so needs that.
Yeah.
So well, I'm lamenting about how terrible it is for me. Like the reality is it's a massive change for him too.
Mhm.
And it's not an easy change or adjustment.
Right.
So again, it has to be about a perspective, right? Like this is about how this has affected both of us. So I feel like now what I was really worried about, like we've come to a better place.
But was your question like, what do we see being
Yeah.
like? So what do you see being like
Now,
an
what do I
upcoming
see?
challenge? Empty nest, or like that's what you were asking about. Like
Yeah.
what might be in the future? Assuming in 3 years you don't
I don't
bolt,
kick you to the curb.
right?
still here.
Like you,
You decided you're going to hang it out. You're
Right.
going to tough
You're
it
gonna-
out.
We'll make
Yeah.
it to 34.
yeah.
I'm not sure. Empty nesting will definitely be interesting. I think with Max out of the house and Lily still there, that is going to be an interesting dynamic.
Won't it though?
Yep. That is going to be a challenge. And hopefully you and her will be in a little bit of a better place. You guys had a pretty good week this week, I think.
Oh, awesome. I don't know what
You're
happened.
like, I don't know what happened, but
Yeah.
okay.
That's pretty near future.
It is
Yeah.
very near
Yeah, that's
future.
near future.
Yes.
What
But
about-
I am concerned a little bit. Like,
That's a
what's
good
our
one.
house going to look like
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
with only one?
With only one.
with only one kid, and yeah, and Max likes to do things that I like to do that Lily doesn't want to do.
Yeah,
So now,
totally.
so to some degree, there's like,
It's going to shift
that's going
a
to,
lot
that's
for
going to
you.
go. Yeah. That's a good one. Great. Now I'm worried about that.
You're welcome. And what are you? Anything you anticipate?
Other than that?
Other than that, you have to have your own example.
I guess the next milestone of less sex again. Like there's that one.
I don't know that happens though after this age. Does it really get less?
I don't know.
I don't know. With like menopause, maybe?
I think that depends on your menopause.
Yeah.
I think it depends. Does it ever slow down for men or no? Don't you
Sure.
go through menopause?
Manopause?
Manopause?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure things don't work as well, right? But like, just because things don't work, I don't know that it changes the male's brain,
The drive.
right? Like, but I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I would, I mean, there's going to be more time alone in the house. There's more opportunity, right? So
yeah, totally.
as
As long as Lenore doesn't slip in the back door.
now you've ruined that.
Sorry.
Sorry, she can't hear anything anyway, so she'll never know. It'll be fine.
Well, just take her glasses off and then you're set. Well, I worry
Yeah,
about health problems.
Oh, that's a good one.
My big challenge, I think, well, Bert and I are pretty healthy, even though I know Bert's, a bigger weight than he usually is. He's still pretty healthy. And I really worry. We've had a few friends in our life. Kirsten's one of them that's having some health problems. And it changes the dynamic so much involuntarily.
Yes.
That worries me because we're young now, 50-some. But as I look deep into the future, I worry about that a little bit. Nothing you can do about it. Nothing to,
Right.
Can't really start counseling for just in case you get sick.
Right.
But I do worry about that. I worry if I get sick, what will happen?
Yeah.
And and the reverse. If Bert gets sick, what will happen? But that's kind of a little more obvious. But I don't know what will happen if I were to get really sick. I don't know what would happen. That bothers me.
You're more worried about that than him getting sick, you mean?
No, I'm worried about both.
Okay.
If he gets sick, I'll be hiring some help because that boy will run me into the ground.
Right.
If it's, I wouldn't want him to get sick. Obviously, I'm joking. I would never want him or me to get sick ever. But that is my biggest fear about the future is that one of us comes up with some really serious health problem that changes who we have to be in our day-to-day life.
Or even not so serious. Like I was just chatting with Sandy about her mom, and clearly she has some pretty serious health stuff going on, but like just the management of the day-to-day, like minor health stuff, like, even Lenore who can't hear, but doesn't really want a hearing aid and she doesn't want to stop driving. Not that she needs to yet, but like all of those things are definitely going to be in our future. And I think the fact that we're seeing our parents at that stage, it's definitely more in our brain. And I also think I feel like we are seeing more people in the 50s who have these random things that all of a sudden you're like, what?
Yeah.
We've had some people who are massively sick and have passed away and, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like that's just, it's devastating.
Yeah,
And
it is.
That would be such a huge challenge on any marriage.
I think it would be. And other than that, I think once we're empty nesters, I'll probably end up traveling with Bert a lot more than I do now. And I don't think that would be a bad thing. I think I'd kind of enjoy it. Because the only reason I'm like, no, I don't want to go is because I have kids here.
Yeah.
And I feel like this sounds creepy maybe. I don't want to miss a single minute with my kids. I don't want to miss 1 minute. And I've felt that way since I had them. Like we'd go on a vacation every year or two and I'd be good with that. But to go on the road with him like once a month, I am not interested in that life.
Yeah.
When my kids are home, when my kids are gone, then it doesn't matter. I don't want to stay home for my dogs. No, I'm fine with leaving my dogs. But I think that would actually be really fun in some way. It might be exhausting because I haven't lived 20 years in that lifestyle. But I know when I go on the road with him for a couple days, it takes me like 5 days to recover. But that's okay. I kind of look forward to that. I am not looking forward to the loneliness that I've been experiencing already because I have 2 very active teenagers and I'm home alone a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I feel very lonely a lot lately. And I always thought, all I need is a dog and cat. And
Different.
it's
different
I think I
company.
did need that. And I think that I evolved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd entered this marriage an air fern, like I said the other day.
Yeah.
I didn't need anything but air. And all of a sudden, I actually need my husband. I need my kids. I need my friends. I need things that I never let myself need before. And it's a little scary. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like the feeling of needing something that you can't have or that you can't provide for yourself.
Right.
It makes me feel very nervous. So, yeah, I don't know. Those are the 2 things I anticipate in the negative Nelly part, I guess.
Yeah.
But being a little more lonely because I am going to be alone. I haven't been alone for 17 years.
Right.
And I had been alone my whole life. I had like one roommate after college. I had college roommates in my dorm, but after that I only had one roommate. I always lived by myself in an apartment. So and I'm an only child. So I don't like the feeling of that. I'm going to be by myself a lot. So, Cathy, I think we're going to have to start playing bridge or mahjong. We'll get Sandy playing as long as there's gambling.
Right. She's in.
Yeah.
She's in.
100% she's in.
Gambling and drinking.
She's in. But you and I will be
Yeah.
empty nesters first.
Yes.
Before the rest of the gang.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
We're the pioneers. Stephen, what is your favorite thing about Cathy?
Oh, boy.
Nothing dirty. This is a family show.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
I was gonna say a body part, but I will. That's not what
We
you meant.
know that.
It's not what you meant.
Besides
It's not
the
what
body
you
part.
meant.
It's your earlobe, right?
I was yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what he was thinking.
She has ears. She's an amazing listener and has a extremely strong understanding of other people, obviously, right? I mean, we've heard it just in how she unpacks her own frustration, settles herself down, and is like, that's about me, not like I am the beneficiary of somebody who is very tolerant and giving of themselves to let me be who I want to be and our kids be who they want to be.
That's beautiful, Stephen. And I think you're right. That is exactly who Cathy is.
Right.
That's really beautiful. That's great.
Oh, shucks.
And one body part we're not discussing.
I mean, I was just going to go with legs. I mean,
She does have great legs. She does. And they go on forever,
that's what I'm talking about.
which is so annoying. But anyway. So what's your favorite part about Stephen?
That's what attracted him.
I know, right? I've heard the story.
I'm sure you have.
The leg on the fountain. I was like, who is that?
Something
So
like that.
adorable. What's your favorite part about
So
Stephen?
ridiculous. My favorite part and the thing that I hate the most
Come on.
is one
Wow.
and the same.
Here's the contrarian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jesus. So wait, can I go back with that? Like, since she gets like,
No, yours was perfect. You can't change it.
go ahead.
The fact that he really pushes me to be a better person, to challenge myself, to grow. I'm not that person. I don't like stepping outside of my box. And he really, really pushes that to happen. And while I hate it tremendously, it's actually one of the things I love because it helps. I wouldn't do any of that stuff. I probably wouldn't grow in the same way if he weren't like Make it happen, sister.
Why do you think that is? Do you think he sees things in you that you don't see? Or do the things he see make you uncomfortable? Why do you think that is?
Probably the latter, you know? I don't like anyone seeing anything, right? So the fact that he sees anything is uncomfortable for me.
Do you think that's from your family culture?
Probably, yeah.
Because you know, Cathy, you are an exceptional human being.
What ifs?
No, you really are an exceptional human being. Like in your compassion, in your give, in your ability to be a good friend, in saying what you mean, meaning what you say, in your ethics, in your integrity. You really are an exceptional human being.
Well, thank you. I don't see that, right? So
I don't know why.
I don't know
Can
why
I
either.
shake you?
Yeah.
Can I just go, stop doing that?
I don't get it either.
That's what he
Really?
does with the like all the time. So
Well, then thank God for him.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
Yeah.
Thank God for him.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, guys, I'm all teary-eyed. I mean, geez. My favorite part of Bird is also a body part. No.
Yeah.
His biceps.
By the way, unfortunately, we've all seen that.
Everybody's seen it. Both my kids have seen it this 1 week accidentally. I was mortified. He came walking through the backyard totally naked, and Georgia was in the living room. And she goes, "Oh my God. Oh my God." I was like, "What is it?" I couldn't see him from where I was sitting with Izzy, and she was standing talking to me and just turned and went, "Oh my God, Dad's totally naked," and just ran the room. And then Isla went to talk to him in the gym and walked, and someone was in the gym and said he's around the corner in the sauna. She opens the sauna door and he's totally naked. And I'm like, that's your fault. Georgia had no,
Right.
she was just standing there, and he walks around the corner of the house totally naked, and they're both probably traumatized. But no, that is not my favorite thing about Bert. I don't know what my favorite thing about Bert is. That's a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite thing about Bert is how much he really cares about the people he loves.
Yeah.
He really, really deeply cares, not just about me.
Mm-hmm.
He cares about you guys. He cares about your kids. He cares about Lenore. He really cares. He doesn't always have the bandwidth to show it in the way he feels it, but I see it. And when I talk to him, it just really, and that he just wants everybody to win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want anybody to lose. He wants everybody to win. Those are really great qualities. I love that about him. And that he cares a lot about the people he cares about very deeply.
Yeah, he really, there's not a lot of half-assing anything in his life. Like
No.
if
You're
if,
very,
right?
you're very true.
right? Like, and so like he wants, and it is interesting. Somebody in the entertainment industry who is not like trying to get one over on anybody
No,
else.
he's
like
not,
if
no.
every other comedian out there could be as successful, he'd be thrilled. Right?
Yes,
like
that's right.
that's not
No.
it's really interesting.
He believes there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
There's enough to go around. And that there's no one just like him.
Yeah.
Which means there's no one just like you.
Right.
So there's plenty of room for everybody. He really does. That's his paradigm. That's really how he functions. Is there's enough. There's no scarcity in that guy anywhere except maybe at a buffet. He does have buffet anxiety. He has to be first in line at a buffet because he's almost positive they're going to run out of the best thing. That's one place he has a little bit of scarcity is a buffet. But yeah, you're right. He really just wants everybody to live their best life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great. He's almost childlike in that way. You know, where a child doesn't, not many children go, "I want you to suck." They want everybody to be great. And he is great like that.
Yeah.
Any closing comments about having a good marriage that lasts a long time that makes you happy? Any closing thoughts?
Which could also be something that you also hate.
But now that she explained it, you get it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, she is our friendly neighborhood contrarian.
That's very
You know what's
true.
so funny? As I was talking to Isla, you know, you're like her second mom.
Yeah.
You know, and I was talking to her about No, sorry. We were having dinner last night and Georgia was talking about a friend that finds the glass half empty. And I said, well, maybe she's a contrarian. I said, we jokingly call Cathy a contrarian. She's not a negative person, but she will find the contrary view to what you're talking about. And it could still be a positive view, but it's going to be different, contrasting, contrary, same kind of vibe. And Niley goes, you're absolutely right. I said, yeah. She goes, that's exactly Cathy Fromkin. She does find a contrary view of everything we talk about. Wow. I'm going to really start paying attention to that. I was like, what? I was like, Cathy's not a negative person. She's not a negative Nelly.
No.
But she definitely goes, well, wait a minute. What about the other side of this coin? And you're like, God damn it, Cathy. We were taking 15 girls to Wee Dowie to go camping. And now you have to bring that up. Come on. Not really. That's a non-example, but you get my point.
Oh, I get it. I live that point.
We were going to go camping in the middle of like raging forest fires. And Cathy's like, bad idea, maybe. And I'm like, why? We'll just put some bandanas on and breathe through it. Come on, we can breathe through it. She's like, you realize 3 people have asthma. Well, fine. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, she had to do it that way because that's how she is.
Yeah. No,
we love that about her.
I
appreciate it genuinely about her. That's why I call her. If I just want to hear somebody agree with me, I call somebody else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear her perspective because it's never the same as mine.
I mean, joking aside, it's one of the things that I need too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am pretty emphatic, pretty
passionate,
passionate.
Mm-hmm.
On what I want, on what I think needs to happen.
You're very laser focused in some ways, and once you get the blinders on, I don't think you're unusual in that. That's what makes you successful in what you do for a living.
But then to have somebody come back and go, hold on, there's another lens through which to look here, right? Which can be frustrating, but also is very helpful, and kind of it gives you a way to sort of check yourself.
Right. It makes you consider. Doesn't mean you have to accept.
Oh no, I don't listen to anything. no, yeah. It's true.
That's the thing. It's not about when you agree to listen to someone, you're not agreeing to accept what they're saying.
Right.
You're just agreeing to consider it.
Yeah.
And if you can just agree to consider, it's amazing how much tension leaves the room. When you go, I'm not agreeing with you. I'm just going to listen to you and consider what you have to say. And then allow it to change you if you value it in a way that changes you, and not just dig your heels in and go, no. I live with that a little bit. When he gets a little emotional, he has a really hard time considering any other perspective. He has to calm down a lot before that can get in his brain. And I always think, just consider. Why don't you add this to what you have and then mix it up and then see what you have? Sometimes I think that's hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard for Bert. I think it's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
When you're in an emotional place. But anyway, I don't know how I don't talk about that. Anyway.
I would say the only parting thought I would have is that I hope, regardless of whether people think the institution of marriage itself is important to them or not, that more and more people find that person that they can't live without, that they just want to be with and want to wake up to every day and go to bed with every night. And that there's something that there's a intangible that, and I think that's why it's, people talk about, it's love, it's in the heart. And it's like, this is all metaphor shit, but it's hard to describe. It's hard
elusive.
To describe. Right. And so I hope more people are able to find that and let that rise above the challenges that go with whether it's a marriage or a relationship or a partnership or whatever it is, right? Because that's how more of them succeed.
Right. Yeah. That's great. Closing thought. Parting thought. What about you, Cathy? Any parting thoughts?
Not really. I think, it really is just about allowing the other person to be who they are, accepting them. And again, not necessarily agreeing with everything, but hearing who they are, accepting who they are, letting them be that, having fun a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
I agree with you. You know what? Before Bert and I got married, I sat with myself and said, he's a slob. He's a comedian. He may never make a dime. Mm-hmm. And he is so impulsive. Eyes wide open. You either accept that or you don't. And if you don't, you can't stay. Right. So you can't go here and go, oh, we're changing that. Right. We're going to stop throwing our panties on the floor. We're going to stop. You know, he may mature out of some of that stuff, but I can't expect that to change. Those are two very different things. Because maturing out of something happens in all kinds of places when you get married. Maturing into things too. But I think that is something that women in particular make a mistake of thinking. Even subconsciously, I'm definitely going to change that. Right. And it's just not how it works. That person they show you to be is who they will be forever. Yeah. Unless something really monumental happens to make that shift. And so you have to look at it, eyes wide open and go, am I willing to be with this forever? I mean, the slob part was hard for me. I am not a slob. And the way my house is now is still more cluttered and disheveled than I would like. But I can't keep up with the merch that comes in, the packages we get from fans, Bert's own shopping spree problem, his hats and shoes and hoodies that just keep showing up and keep showing up. And so
the suitcases that explode.
They just explode and you walk over them for a week until he closes them back up and leaves because he goes, I don't understand the point of unpacking it when I'm packing it in 2 days. And you go, not an invalid point. Right. But for 2 days now I'm walking over your shit. So it's not been easy to say, but every time I get to reach my limit with it, I go, no. You agreed to this. And it would not be fair. That would not be okay to then chastise him or make him feel less than or bad because of the behavior that I agreed to when we got married. I just don't think that's fair. And I think that a lot of people don't have that perspective. Another thing that's really important in our marriage, I don't know if you guys do anything like this. I know this is a long podcast. I'm sorry. But totally fine. We do this thing called a summit. Do you know what a summit is?
I've heard you talk about it a lot, but
I don't know that I know what you're talking about.
We do a summit. I mentioned this on a podcast with Leo, I think a couple weeks ago, and I've gotten so many emails asking me to talk about it. I think I'm going to do a whole episode with Bert where we talk about our summits, but we do this thing like once a year where we just have a meeting because a marriage is sort of like a business. Where we sit down and kind of have a business meeting and talk about everything. We check our ego at the door. There's no ego. We talk about our kids, our money, our parents, our house, what car leases up on a car. What are you thinking?
That's brilliant.
Problem with sex, problem with communicating. Do we need therapy? Whatever do you need therapy? Whatever's going on. Right. It's like a meeting. It's a summit. And it usually lasts a long time. We try to plan it after we've gone out on a date. So we've had a nice evening. Yeah. And you don't want to ruin that evening by having a big nasty argument. Yeah. You want the evening to end on an up note, feeling like you've really accomplished something. So we'll go to dinner, have a nice dinner, come home and have this summit. Like notebooks, like we've prepared for it.
You do at night. You don't do it like the next day.
We do it at night after dinner. Or sometimes we would go to lunch when the kids were in school and then do it after lunch. But I mean, like we'd make a list of what we wanted to talk about and go through both of our lists and really lay things out on the table. And some things are not solved, but at least they're on the table, and then you can go, okay, I didn't know that this was a problem, or I didn't know we would have to make these decisions, or I didn't know that this was coming up right now. And it just kind of, I don't know, it just makes life easier somehow. It takes it's like preventative medicine. It's like preventative medicine. where you going, I'm going to prevent any problems because we're just going to put everything out on the table. Good, bad, indifferent. What's life looking like? And really take inventory.
That's a good idea.
It's really helpful for us, especially because he travels so much,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you haven't talked about anything serious in like 3.5 weeks. And it's something you needed an answer for a week ago.
Yeah.
It gets lost sometimes. And I don't know. I think that's really helpful. I think he and I should podcast about our summits because I don't know how we came up with that. I don't know if it was me or it was him. I tend to think it was probably me. But I mean, we named it too because it's something like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But in that big deal, we don't make it a big deal. You know what
Right.
I mean? It's no intensity. Just showing up and having a conversation with a coworker about what's going on in the office.
Yeah.
So anyway, anybody who's married, I personally have gotten a lot of value out of that. So, not everybody has to do what I do,
Right.
but something like that,
That's a good idea.
It is super helpful. Every once in a while, you're like, hey, I need 15 minutes. We need to discuss like the budget. We need to discuss whatever. But like sometimes I do feel like it's hard to pin you down,
Yeah.
Exactly.
even though
Right.
you're home. I'm like, I have 3 million things I need to ask you.
Yeah.
So to set aside some time is really smart.
Buy me dinner, and it sounds like it.
Well, all I have to say to Bert is we need a summit, and he'll go, "Just do it."
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that. For some reason, when I say that, or he says it to me, we need a summit. We know we need to do some work.
Yeah.
We got to put some work in.
I do well with structure and
Yeah.
Me too.
organize. Like
Me too.
I need, if we're gonna do that, then yeah. I mean, I'm
PowerPoint.
bring your lesson, bring your agenda, right? Like bring
Oh,
your-
that
bring
is
the, bring
works
the
for
points
me.
that we need to discuss.
Totally.
Take notes but then it's what are the action items afterwards? Like how do we follow up on those things?
But
And
we
how
do
make sure
that.
they get done, right?
But in the meeting, we'll go, I'm doing this, you're doing that. I'm doing this, you're doing that. And because our value system is what it is, it just gets done because that is our marriage. The
Right.
summit really is a meeting about our marriage. And your marriage is a business, a partnership. It's, if you look at it, it's so much more than love and romance and
Right.
sex. It's really a partnership. So if you treat it in that moment like a business, then no one takes anything personally.
Right.
No one gets their feathers ruffled. No one, even if it's something you're like, I feel like we're not communicating well. Like we've had that in a summit. I feel like every time I say A, you say B just to say it. So let's talk about that because it's not happening in a fight.
Right.
It's happening on neutral territory.
Mm.
So you can really say, this has really been bothering me. And how do you feel about that? Because now you're not in this super engaged, really intense emotional place. You can have a more balanced conversation about it. So it's not that we just talk about business-like things. We talk about how we feel about things too. In early summits, we talked about sex a lot because that was on Bert's agenda a lot. But we don't really talk about that anymore. We actually haven't had a summit in a while. And a couple weeks ago, he said, we need to have a summit again. And we had a summit about his business, but we ran out of time. So we need to go have dinner and
Maybe
have
a
a
marriage
summit.
summit,
Yeah, have a personal summit.
personal summit.
Yeah. Anyway, that would be something I would give advice for closing, whatever.
It's good advice.
But thank you so much for being willing to talk about this. And thank
Yeah.
you for being willing, Cathy, to say, I didn't know how this was going to work when we went in this pandemic. I needed time alone.
Yeah.
We worked it out. I think it's really important for people to hear that people have thoughts of how are we going to make it? And then you figure
Yeah.
out how to make it. That's really vulnerable. And I appreciate you sharing that because I think it's really important for people to hear that you have thoughts like that and
Yeah.
overcome them, work through them as a partnership. That's great.
Thank you for being vulnerable.
She's saving most of it for later.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
In the shower.
All right.
Right. Well, thank
With my
you guys.
earlobes.
Yeah.
Well, I love you both individually and as a couple, and
Thank
I
you.
admire your marriage. I
Thank
think
you.
you
Love
have
you.
a great marriage. And
Thank
I
you.
feel so lucky to be surrounded by you and Sandy and Tom and Lynn and Eric and all these marriages that are committed and work.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be married to Eric or Lynn. I couldn't be married to Sandy or Tom. I couldn't be married to either of you. But your marriage is all work, and it's so great to be a part of, to share in. It's inspiring, really. So thank you for sharing your lives with us. Really, we've shared our lives together for how many years now?
A long time now.
Right?
It's a long time. It's really a gift.
It is very much so.
It
It's a gift
is
for
a
our children.
gift.
It's a gift for us. Yeah.
Yeah, as to quote
11.
Tom Hayslip, the last time we left his house on Chinese New Year. We were talking about our trip, our two families to Lake Havasu, and how much fun it was. And I said, "Yep, we're about to be empty nesters." And he went, "And bring on more good times. Let's bring it on." And I was like, "That's what I'm talking about, Tom Hayslip. It's not just about the kids; it's about the grown-ups too. Let's all just create our own retirement community and all retire together, please."
Yeah.
So I think that's great. That looking to the future, I see us going and doing things together all the time that has nothing to do with our kids, because the way we met was our children's relationships. And then we got the benefit of developing our own relationships that have nothing to do with our kids.
That will continue without the children being there.
What a gift.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Super lucky.
You guys are a gift to me. So thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. I love you both.
Love you. Thanks for having us.
I'm so glad you came on and
Good
talked
job.
about
Good job,
this.
Cathy.
Yeah.